The coronavirus slash COVID-19 is dominating our world and the news cycle. Interestingly, the whole crisis made me think about a classic film, John Carpenter's The Thing. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76 Entertainment slash Media. First of all, please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. As you can see, during this coronavirus slash COVID-19 pandemic, I am not in my, or should I say at my home in Northern Virginia. Instead, I'm at my original home in Buffalo, New York. I'm here due to some family business, and I decided to shoot a video about the coronavirus. Actually, I've shot maybe, I think, 3 other videos, 2 on my science and technology channel, and also 1 or 2 on my original channel. And now I want to shoot something over here on my entertainment and media channel. And on this channel we talk about movies and science fiction and the Avengers and the Justice League and all kinds of things related to movies and media. And before I jump in, I want to encourage you to check out my interview with Antonio Lepore and Matt Schafferoden, the directors and founders of the Swamp Media Group and the producers of the independent film Space Detective. That's the video before this one, and I will probably leave that in the description box below. But anyway, this video, the music you just heard, or the music I brought us in on, was the theme from John Carpenter's The Thing. That was the main theme by Alan Howarth and Larry Hopkins. So you know what this channel is about. But how did I come up with this idea to kind of link the coronavirus to John Carpenter's The Thing? I was in the shower yesterday or 2 days ago, and sometimes ideas just come to you. And I was thinking about the coronavirus and COVID-19, and all of a sudden I said, whoa, this kind of reminds me of, well, in a way, this reminds me of John Carpenter's The Thing. And if anyone watches this who's a millennial or a Gen Zer, you guys aren't going to know about John Carpenter's The Thing. It came out in 1982, and it was I consider it a classic and in some ways a pioneering science fiction horror slash thriller movie. And so I'm going to date myself and say that I was 6 years old when that movie hit the theaters, though I didn't, I wasn't old enough to go and see it. But when I started seeing it on television as a child, some of the stuff that I saw really, really shocked me. It was a breakthrough film at that time in terms of storytelling and special effects. It was directed by John Carpenter, and I believe the creature effects were by a gentleman named Rob Bottin. And there's a really cool documentary that I watched on the movie maybe a year or so ago. I'm going to leave that in the description box below in case you want to check it out. But it was just in terms of the casting, the story, the production, the location, and that music. It was just a breakthrough film. And I'm going to talk about why, in my opinion. It had it had an all-star cast. The star of the movie was Kurt Russell, who played R.J. McCready, and the beard and the flamethrower and just the badass attitude is iconic, and that will stand the test of time. Wilford Brimley, the oatmeal guy from Our House, was in it. He was Blair. Keith David was in that. He played Childs, and then just everyone else. It was an all male cast, and every character in that movie contributed something. Some of them got killed off earlier than others, but they all contributed something. Blair, Knowles, Palmer, Childs, Dr. Copper, Norris, Bennings, Clark, Gary, Fuchs, and Windows. That was the entire team that was in that Arctic location with R.J. McCready when they found the flying saucer, the mysterious flying saucer. Speaking of which, that led to part of the mystique of that movie, in addition to the music, is that in the opening scene, you see this flying saucer just zooming towards Earth, and then they turn the camera so you can see it kind of turning and entering into the Earth's atmosphere. And in hindsight, they did a similar thing with the original Predator movie. You open up with the scene of the ship flying towards planet Earth, and then you see the Predator jump out and go into the Earth's atmosphere. Anyway, so the cast was amazing. The special effects were amazing, but I think what really made that movie great was the steady build-up, the plot, the unknown. That when that Siberian Husky or whatever that dog is, that when it shows up to their camp, that something is wrong, but you don't quite know what. And gradually, a sense of distrust and fear starts to build amongst the cast once they realize that there's something otherworldly at their base now, and it's spreading, and they don't know what it is, and they eventually stop trusting each other, and they're looking at each other like this and like that, and you don't really know who the alien is, and none of them know who the alien is, and it's slowly taking down each man one by one. And this is all in addition to all of the grisly and gross special effects, and this was before CGI. This was before all the computer animation that we have today, and they did some remarkable things with the materials that they had at that time. And as a kid, some of that stuff really, really grossed me out, and I think it scared a lot of people. Just before I go on, the prequel to the thing that came out maybe about 7, 8 years ago with Joel Edgerton, I thought it was good, but what was different was you knew that there was a shape-shifting alien there. So that movie, the prequel was good, but it didn't have that feeling of the unknown and of the suspense. So it scared me to death when I was a child. And there were scenes that even today stand out to me, like the dog scene where we first see the alien for the very first time. That was kind of scary and riveting. There was the scene where which character was that? Where Norris, where we find out that Norris has been infected by the alien, and it does all kinds of crazy things to his body. That was kind of out there. There was the scene with who was it? Palmer. When Palmer got infected, and they're all McCready had them all strapped down. He was testing their blood to see who was the alien, and it turned out to be Palmer. He was infected, and when I watch the movie, you kind of wonder if the characters knew that they were infected before they transformed into whatever it was the alien transformed them into. Just briefly, what the alien did in the movie was it had the ability to overwhelm host cells and then imitate those host cells. So on a cellular and a molecular level, the alien had the ability to take over a host cell and then mimic it, and then just take over the whole organism. So that scene stands out. Obviously, the last sequence stands out when McCready faces the creature for the last time, or what we think is the last time, and then the ending scene where it's just McCready and Childs, and the base is blown up. All the other team members are dead, and you don't know if they're going to survive, and you don't know if the creature has made it, or if the creature is going to make it to the greater civilizations and developed world. So you don't know if the creature actually makes it out of their base at the end of the movie. So just suspense everywhere from beginning to end. The movie was based on a book called Who Goes There, and the underlying themes were, or theme was distrust. So fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing what's there, fear of the creature being, fear of one of your comrades being taken over by the creature, and fear of even yourself getting infected. The whole underlying theme was fear, and distrust, and uncertainty. So in the movie, they gradually figure out that it's spreading and how it's spreading. And they're at a science research station in the Arctic, or one of the poles. It's in a polar region, and so they're in a very confined space with the alien, and it takes them down one by one. And they all start to distrust each other, and they have to stop it from getting out to the rest of the world, because you can imagine when you watch the movie, if it's taking down this one base of guys, you can imagine that the alien could spread like a pandemic if it actually got to North America or China or Europe. You could imagine watching the movie, imagining how and why they have to stop it. And if the creature did in fact get out, well, that could have, in that world, it could have been the end of all human life. So that's John Carpenter's The Thing. I'm going to leave the documentary in the description box below, and I would encourage anyone watching this, if you haven't seen it, take a look. It's a classic movie. And the things that I described, they remind me of what's happening now with the coronavirus and COVID-19, because there's a lot of fear now. There's a lot of uncertainty now. You don't know who's infected with it, and you don't know if someone's going to infect you with it. And since this whole thing really ramped up, when I go out in the public, I'm looking at people and wondering, who's got it? Are they going to infect me with it? And am I going to get it? And, what's going to happen? So that's why the movie reminded me of what's happening now, because there's a lot of fear and anxiety and uncertainty and distrust floating around throughout the population. Actually, a lot of movies dovetail or are applicable to this situation, and I may do more of these movies that remind me of this coronavirus / COVID-19 pandemic. But John Carpenter's The Thing was the first one to remind me of this current situation. So thank you for watching this video. This one wasn't planned. Everyone stay safe. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth when you're sneezing on someone or coughing. And just be smart when you're out and about. So please like this video. Please share it. And please subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comment section below if there are any movies that you know that remind you of this coronavirus / COVID-19 pandemic. So I couldn't end this video without discussing one of my favorite scenes, or probably my most favorite scene from the movie, and my favorite dialogue between two characters. And it comes in the scene where MacReady has Childs, Gary, and Palmer tied down, and he's administering a blood test to see who's actually human. Windows took the test and Windows passed, so he has a flamethrower as well pointed at all three. And as the plot has unfolded, tension has risen between Gary and MacReady, and I think Gary in the movie is the most senior person on the whole team at the research facility. So, he's tied up there with Childs and Palmer, and he tells MacReady, you know what, this is so stupid. I don't know why you have us doing this. This is pointless. And MacReady's holding the dish, and he's got the hot wire, and he says, Gary, I had a feeling you'd say that. And then he starts implicating and laying out his theories for how Gary was probably involved in the deaths of the other members of the team. And he says, I had a feeling you'd feel that way, and that's why I'm going to test you last. And he touches the hot wire to the blood, and the blood jumps out. And that's when Palmer starts to transform into the creature that he becomes, and all the guys sitting down with them, Gary and Childs, they start going crazy, and it just turns into complete mayhem. But that was my favorite scene, and I think that was my favorite set of dialogue from the movie. Alright, so that's all I've got. Thank you for watching, and always remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.